we go. This is Luca Zanna, and we are here live from the Temple of Freedom, the Social Contact Club. We are at 3001 Stockton Hill Road in Kingman, Arizona, Mojave County. Now, this is the show, the new show, The Religion of Freedom. Yes, I've been off the air for a couple of years. I need to find the motivation. Not because I lost motivation, but, you know, after all, your day is made of 24 hours, and there is so many hours I can use for my my life and family, business, responsibilities. The radio show has been great for 6 years, but sometimes it's just too much overwhelming. I didn't have enough time. I realize now that the time that we are living in this country are unfortunately perilous at the least, and we are needing everyone we can. I don't care your voice how big can be. Maybe you could be just talking at your dinner table. Maybe you can talk at your church. Maybe you can talk at I don't know, my little radio show with my accent that probably nobody understands. Doesn't matter. I will do everything I can. I realize that every opportunity I have to spread the message of freedom, and more important, to remind any one of us, I don't care if you're old, if you're young, what we are, what we're supposed to be as a country, as a republic. And what we are losing here, we are the last days, really, of our republic. And there is no help from anyone else beside if you believe in a deity, in your God and God. But beside that, we need to do our part. So I truly believe that we have to look at ourselves in the mirror at night. And if we want to find solutions, it starts from us. That's why I'm here humbly. And that's why I want to bring you always guests that at least try to educate us and share their view. And more important, how to do it. That's the bottom line. I don't want to just talk how bad things are because we know things are bad. I want to see how can we fix things. And I don't want to remind everyone that truly I am a religious man. My religion here officially it is freedom. That's what it is. And I want everybody keep in their belief. I'm not here to judge or to preach. I want you happy with whatever you believe. Your soul is your soul. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. But when we are together as Americans or as the human beings, we should have one thing in common, that freedom should unite us and we are not body slaves. That's the bottom line. Of course, in America, we are blessed. People before us fought and died and gave us important foundation that normally no other country has. It's called the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. Now, tonight, here at from the Social Contact Club, I'm very humble and honored to have one beacon of freedom, a man that it took everything on his shoulders and he put everything really on the table, coming down also to his personal wealth, coming down to his personal safety, when it came down to defend the Constitution of these United States. And this is I already had on my other show, Love, Guns, and Freedom, probably at least one time. I say two, probably. I forgot. Anyway, his name is known to everyone who loves America, knows Sheriff Richard Mack. Sheriff Mack, how are you tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Luca. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much.
I'm very pleased because normally I had you on the phone. Finally, I can have you in person, and this is a privilege for me. When I was studying, my citizenship in 2005, I was learning a lot of things. I tried to learn. I was pretty lucky. I was, since the first years in America, I landed on some John Birch Society books. So somehow I was already a weird, okay, about this Constitution. But then I found out about you. And I said, wow, this is amazing that somebody like a regular guy, a sheriff, was able to stop like a David against Goliath, like your book, your latest book,
Yeah.
you were able to do what you did and set the example to the rest of the country. Tell us a little bit about everybody knows about. I always try to assume maybe new listeners are here. Why, what you did, what was your struggle, what was your mission at the time when you were sheriff, what you did?
Well, I was sheriff between 88 and 96. Last day in office was January 1st, 1997. But during my second term, I became the first sheriff in American history to sue the federal government, take the case all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and win a major landmark decision on the side of local autonomy, individual liberty, and the mostly the autonomy of the sheriff. We protected the sheriff's office from the overreach of the federal government. And I need to make this very clear. The president of the United States and the United States Congress cannot tell your sheriff what to do. They're not the boss of the sheriff. The sheriff reports only to the people who elect him. Period. End of story. The people in his county, whether they vote or not, doesn't matter. They are his boss. He reports only to them. Yes, that can be a difficult job trying to report to 10,000 different people, 50,000 people, but it is nevertheless his job to do just that. And that requires that he is listening to them because he works for them. And in this particular instance, the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, and the United States Congress attempted to commandeer the office of sheriff all across the United States for federal bidding. And it was pursuant to the Brady Bill. And I maintained that the federal government had absolutely no jurisdictional authority to tell me or any other sheriff what to do. I decided to sue on that particular principle, and that's exactly what we won on. I sued on the 10th Amendment, states' rights, state sovereignty, and local control. And that's exactly what we won on. And let me tell you, the decision written by Justice Antonin Scalia, another Italian, and and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. He went much further in his decision than I ever thought it would, and it was a miracle. And we all know where miracles come from. And I'm grateful that God used me as His tool to make this amazing decision come to pass.
This is sometimes seems like for people that maybe not be used to understand what means to go in front of a superior court in general, but more important, when you're fighting, pretty much, I will have a question. I probably already know the answer, but I like to remind: when you went to court, did the county was the county behind you monetarily to support you for this? That's and I know the answer, but I want to remind the world out that.
Yeah, in fact, they told me to make sure that I did not use any resources from the county whatsoever.
So,
And so the first thing I did to
mhm,
comply with that,
yeah,
I took $500 out of my own pocket
yeah.
and went and deposited it in the general fund of the county. So just in case phones or a dispatcher or my secretary were answering phone calls that I didn't cause in the first place. I was shocked that so many media agencies across the world called me about this lawsuit.
Hmm.
And the first week, we took over 300 calls.
Wow. So, and
So yeah,
that's what I want to remind the people. This wasn't just about, okay, the taxpayer is behind you and you can challenge in court and whatever happens, whatever. This was about putting your reputation. Also, I think your safety, because when you challenge monsters
yeah.
like that, you're talking about mobsters. They're much more ethical, in my opinion, especially when you talk about the Clinton.
Oh,
This
I
is my
totally agree
opinion.
with you.
I
Yeah,
agree, but it's my opinion. I like to deal with mobsters from Italy than deal with the Clinton family, okay?
yeah,
Or the government in general, the federal government. But the point is, you took everything on your back, your family for sure also suffering because you never know how it's going to end up.
right.
A lot of debt, a lot of stress, and then all that because at the end you were making a very important point. You were just upholding your oath to the Constitution and to the
Correct.
people. That's the
I
bottom
was
line.
keeping my oath and I was trying to do what I thought was right.
So the situation now, what is so important today? Because sometimes people say, okay, that was 30 years ago. So what? So what? This is like the founding fathers fought and died for the revolution to leave us behind these documents that, of course, they are alive only if we keep them alive.
Correct.
Same story. Your Supreme Court case is so important because it's very fresh history
Mhm.
to remind and educate all the sheriffs around the country and the counties, of course, that more important, what is exactly their role? And tyranny can be stopped at the county's gate,
That's
right?
exactly correct. And I've written books about that. And
Tell us about the books, by the way, the names. And
well, the first book I wrote was From My Cold Dead Fingers, Why America Needs Guns. And so our motivation, my motivation, and Sheriff Prince too, who went with me to the Supreme Court, our motivation was to protect the Second Amendment. But we didn't sue on the Second Amendment because, as we found out, we did not have standing on the Second Amendment because we were exempt. All of law enforcement were exempt from the Brady background checks. So it was like we were the elites,
mhm.
and Washington D.C. Congress and all those politicians who think they're elite, they wanted to make us elite also. But I objected to that too. But regardless, we sued on the 10th Amendment. We protected the second and the 10th at the same time by using the 10th. And it was the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of our country. And I suggest everybody uh, get a copy of it, look it up on the internet. You can study it. But I have a little booklet that's just pocket size that I did of a review of the case, and you can get those. They're only like three for $10 or whatever. Anyway, they're really cheap, but it's the most powerful book I've written. I've written 8 books. That one's only 15 pages long, and it's only this big. It fits in your pocket, but it's a review of the case, and every American needs to read that to find out what this case really did for liberty. Because even in there, Scalia says, quote, the different governments will control each other at the same time that each will be controlled by itself. So the state and the county and the city have an obligation to stand against the encroachments of the federal government. What if the encroachments are coming from the capital, from Phoenix?
Hmm.
Well, then the cities and counties have an obligation to stand against them, because what comes first in America? Liberty,
Hmm.
God given, natural rights that are given to us by our Creator and by the laws of nature, right out of the Declaration of Independence. And so, if we're doing our job locally, that means we will not allow anybody to violate your liberty. How could I be doing anything of significance if I, as sheriff, go after street criminals, but I let the government come in and take everything from you?
That's true.
That's ridiculous.
This is very powerful, by the way, and especially now. Listen, I thought it was terrible during 8 years with Obama,
Oh my
but
gosh.
that was bad. I tell you, that was a warm up. This was like we had a little bit of a peace before the thunder. The 4 years with Trump, regardless, of course, I don't want to go Trump. It was a guy, it was a man, it was a president, it was a man. Was it? Unfortunately, even him, I realized he probably was surrounded by a lot of people that they weren't doing their job. But regardless, we had a little bit of a break. From now, comparing for what we're living now, that was still paradise. Now, what we are going to face now is so terrible, so completely almost like can be logical. This is forget about political parties, common sense. Talking about
Right.
futuristic society that now is based on death. It's based not just on debt, like money debt, trillions of dollars. Talking about destruction, everything against humanity. And as I say, I talk sometimes. I try to avoid to talk to Democrats, and I'm not even Republican. But there is a point: if you still support what's going on today, is beyond left or right. This is
Yes, it
about
is.
now tyranny and freedom. More important now is beyond what I call treason and keeping this republic alive. Because if you
Amen.
tell me that we have a person that we know, we don't need to be scientists or to be political experts. When I see that the fraud evidence that we have, we're supposed to have truly now an investigation, and we are giving a country away to a man that's supposed to be and his son at least in front of a military tribunal for criminal charges, or at least to
Right.
facing something serious like that. So it's beyond that. And more important, now let's look at their agenda.
Mhm.
The agenda is not about just more socialistic, that would be bad enough, by the way, destruction of our economy. But now it's about infringing on every right, starting from our freedom of speech. Second Amendment, you know about this bill that is coming through the House, the Congress.
Yes, I do.
It's terrible. I mean, we're
And the
gonna be
and the
called
state
criminals.
legislature is already pushing back on that, and
Hmm.
very well they should be, before federal agents show up to try to take your guns away. And lots of different states are doing that, and God bless them for it, because that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Madison said, erecting the barriers against the encroachments of the national authority. That's what the sheriff should be doing. That's what the state should be doing. That's what the county commissioner should be doing. Why? Because liberty comes first.
Yes, yes, and that's exactly what I say. Where we're here. That's why I decided whatever we can, every one of us. And by the way, this the Social Contact Club. It is not just some private club. We are truly a place where we believe in freedom. And my mission, at least as the way I envision, is to bring people like Sheriff Mack or other people, or people even, let's say, they want to just speak up. They want to just share their ideas. How can we defend our republic? How can we defend our rights? This is the bottom line. A place also at the same time, I truly believe we're supposed to enjoy life because life is so difficult. They try to destroy our economy. They destroy it, by the way, by design. They try to put you now isolated like we are, in a completely mind control environment, alone, broke and miserable. I say, let's get together. Let's try to enjoy freedom. And more important, let's try also to find a way to survive and thrive, even especially economically. This is a place where I invite people to trade, to do
Sure.
business. For example, we try now to get together a page for all the different members that they do any type of trade or service or share the wealth, share the money, share the services among each other. Now let's talk about, speaking about money, because all this costs, of course, and your job you've been doing for many years, spreading around your gospel of your experience. You organize in a way that you can also ask for help and get people helping you, because you have an organization that you go around the country educating law enforcement,
Right.
sheriffs, even police, everyone that who wants to listen, even people that normally they are not even law enforcement at all. They just want to help.
Right.
Tell us about your organization, how people can find you and support you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. It's the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. So cspoa.org. Constitutional Sheriffs, Peace Officers Association. Much information and so many tools that you can access on our website. And again, you can buy that little pocket not constitution, but the review of the case. We have lots of pocket constitutions too. I always have one with me. But and you just showed me yours a
Yeah.
minute ago, the gospel of yours, you know. So uh, I highly recommend that you get to know that. But also the other book I was my second or third book was called The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope.
Yeah, I have that too.
And my second book was actually uh, the proper role of law enforcement. Everybody should get a copy of that, of both of them. Well, you're not a sheriff. Well, good. You need to know what your sheriff's supposed to know.
Hmm.
He works for you, remember?
Exactly,
And you
exactly.
need to know the proper role of law enforcement because you need to know what your law enforcement officers are supposed to be doing. So those are two great books. And the proper role of law enforcement details my personal epiphany and my personal conversion to the Constitution.
That's amazing. And by the way, this is so good. I have, by the way, all your books. I have a library with somehow everything now can become so difficult even to find. Get your books, and even if you find the, let's say, what do you call it, Kindle, whatever, buy the paper book, because this digital world will be unfortunately censored like they've been doing even with kids book,
Yeah.
Dr. Zeus. Buy the physical book, support the authors that they really live through this experience on their skin, and at the same time share this information. It's not just keeping it with you. I always say the process how we take back everything, starting from our rights. First, knowledge. Without knowledge, if you don't know your rights, you don't have rights. But after you know rights, you got to share it. You can just say, okay, I know now, I go back to sleep. Share it. That's the most peaceful way to start a peaceful revolution, reaching critical mass, getting people out there. And then, of course, we need to act. Act means speak up, not being afraid like you were, because I'm sure you, for a moment you had to talk to your wife and say, what am I going to do here? I have to feed kids. You know, you have a lot of kids. I know that. I mean, you have a family. You made a decision. And to be afraid is normal, is human. But then what is the difference when you act? You use the fear, you transform it in courage.
Yeah, I was scared.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. And you made a good point there because when I came in and told my wife, I just came in from a meeting in Phoenix where the federal government sent 3 agents of the BATF to come in and hand us our marching orders as sheriffs
Hmm.
of Arizona. They handed us the 25-page document that detailed what we had to do to obey the Brady Act. And so nobody liked it. Didn't matter if they were Democrat or Republican. No sheriff in Arizona liked it. And we were threatened with arrest if we
Wow.
failed to comply. Now, a lot of people don't believe that. They think I make that up.
Oh, no, I know
Look
that.
up the case yourself. I don't care. But we were threatened with arrest, and I even put it in my presentation. I show the quote from the Brady bill. But be that as it may, I decided on my way home to sue the Clinton administration, and I was scared. Who wants to sue the Clintons?
Yeah.
You know.
Now we
And
know.
so, but I said, oh, there's no way my wife will let me do this, and she'll talk me out of it. She did just the opposite. She totally endorsed it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's why I say always there is
That
all.
is another miracle.
Oh, I believe that. I believe that. And you know, as I said, this is serious, by the way, guys. Sometime one day we're all gonna be gone, and we look behind all the things that people before us did. And when they did, it's not just like in the book. You say, okay, our founding fathers fought the revolution. It sounds like they fought on. You need to visualize the drama. You need to visualize their pain. I mean, I always think about, okay, you read a book, history book, you make it easy, couple pages. Okay, American Revolution, maybe a chapter, whatever. There is blood, there is tears, there are sacrifices, there are people lost their
Of
homes,
course.
lost their families, lost their limbs,
Yeah.
tragedy, brothers lost brothers, fathers lost sons. I mean, and one day we need to think about, that's why we're here. Seriously, I believe, sometimes I cry when I think people before us, they really had everything, they gave everything, they lost everything, to give us a gift. This is like I consider like a gift. They give you a gold, like a gold jewel,
Mhm.
and that all we have to do is to preserve it.
Right.
We don't need to even make it. They build it for us.
Right.
And now I feel like an idiot when I see a bunch of thugs that just say, "Give me your stuff," and we hand it to them.
Right.
And that's why I say we gotta stand up. That's why I want to do everything I can to completely fight back. And this is the way I think we should, at least for now, fight back.
Well, and along with that, you just reminded me of something else there. These local officials, and I see that you're all in favor of recalling a certain public
Hmm.
official, and good, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. When they don't follow the Constitution,
Hmm.
when they don't keep their word and their oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, that's exactly what we, the people, should be doing.
Yes.
They work for us, and
Yes.
they promised us to follow the Constitution. So let me ask everybody in the United States of America, especially here in Kingman and in Arizona, when we signed up to be Americans, was there ever any thought that we would live in a country where the politicians and our supposed leaders would say to us, yes, we will uphold and defend the Constitution, but not in cases of emergency. We will never protect your rights. We will not uphold freedom and liberty as long as there's an emergency or a pandemic
Hmm.
or a virus or anything else that might affect your health.
Yeah.
Because then we can't have liberty. And you have to do everything we say, and we'll shut your churches down, and we'll shut your businesses down, and we'll arrest you for not wearing a mask, and anything else we don't like you doing. Well, you're subject to whatever we say. You think that we would have signed up for a country that was like that?
No way, no way. And
No.
also, an important thing also you make, not only the emergency, that's bad enough, but also violating the same city code. Like talking about the mayor, for example. Maybe I don't know if you follow the whole story here. The mayor of Kingman not only, as you just said, completely went beyond what's supposed to be their boundaries. She cannot decide who is essential, who is not essential. That would be bad enough. I don't care if you legislated or not, because after all, we're all essential to our families. Okay, that's the way I look. If I'm safe to go to Walmart, I think I can be safe to go to the barber shop of mom and pop. So that's the logic. If it truly was so scary, this pandemic, I think we cannot even go to Walmart or we cannot even go to Home Depot. So it makes no sense. Before that, the specific situation with Mayor Salem, not Salem, I'm so sorry, um, Jen Miles, I'm talking about that mayor. I'm so sorry, Mayor Salem, you were okay. Anyway, what happened? She went and also she violated, and this is according to the Attorney General of Arizona, wasn't just an opinion, the city ordinance. The city ordinance says that any executive order, like in this case, the declaration of emergency, supposed to last no more than 72 hours, unless it's backed immediately after by a city council vote. She went with that and last months. No, not only that, some of us pointed out and we asked to the city attorney, and that's on all public in the newspapers. The city attorney said, yes, technically that's what the city ordinance says. Technically, it's also a misdemeanor, but it's the mayor.
Oh my God.
This is his own book. Everybody can read English. You don't need to be a lawyer to understand that.
Yeah.
So much that finally they were forced to vote months later in complete violation of the law because the attorney general from Arizona said, you can do that. So they rush out a little bit of a vote. They slam through for another month this, bandana, mask. That's another, then we go to the logic. Forget about the legality. Now we go common sense, okay? But then they have to put the city ordinance, lasts only for a month because, meanwhile the recall started to kick in and some other county council members started to get concerned and finally they saw the light. So, but that's the point. They think also they are above the law.
Oh, of course.
That's the scary stuff. So that's why we're here. That's as I said before. If you want to look at who's going to be the savior, don't look at Trump. Don't look at Q. Don't look at all these things on the news. Oh, they're going to come with a white beret or whatever, superheroes. No,
No,
you got to look at yourself.
you gotta do the Michael Jackson song.
Yes,
Look at the man in the mirror.
exactly. And that's the beautiful thing. We have so much power. Regular people, working men, working women. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care if you're tall, if you're small, if you're fat, if you are from another country. You can have a voice. One person doesn't need a majority to spread the truth like you did. You were one person, of course, at the sheriff joined, like the Sheriff Prince from Montana, I guess, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but still, you were a minority.
Oh,
Okay,
well, ultimately, 7 of us out of 3,080 did it.
Heck,
7.
that's my point.
Yeah.
Now, what about in exactly in Arizona? I'm sure you had meetings before you went for the lawsuit. Did you try to involve the other sheriffs? What did they say to you?
Oh, they said you can't fight City Hall. That's what they said.
Wow,
And so nobody wanted to join the lawsuit. I was by myself. In fact, I was the only one in the entire country for about 5 weeks until Prince did it. And when I heard, I was actually on my way to work, and CBS Morning News was on the radio, and it said that Sheriff Prince from Ravalli County, Montana, was filing a similar lawsuit to that filed in Arizona by a county sheriff there. They never said my name, but they said a county sheriff there, and I was so thrilled. And ultimately, it was very important that all 7 did, because Prince and I were consolidated to one case because we're both in the same circuit court,
yeah.
and that's San Francisco.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, you know what happens there.
Yeah.
Nothing good, and so we lost there in appeal. But Sheriff Romero and Sheriff Coog from Texas and Louisiana went to the Fifth Circuit, and they won.
Wow,
And so you have conflicting rulings
wow,
and in the circuit court on the same case.
wow. So you have to go time
That
out,
guaranteed us a trip to the Supreme Court.
and it's still there. It's never guaranteed. You know, sometimes they can always say no. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
that's we know
but the
that
conflict between the two circuit courts though
helped.
made sure that we win.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great. That's amazing.
yeah.
So that's my point. You never
Another
know.
miracle.
It's a miracle. I
Another,
believe that. That's and everything happens for a reason.
yeah.
Now, sometimes we may feel discouraged. Sometimes we feel that we're underdogs. You never stop fighting. I say that also to my students. No matter what, but when your life is in peril or your liberty is in peril, you keep fighting till you're alive, till you can breathe, till you can think. You keep fighting. You fight smart. You don't want to die fast, but you want to give a misery back. We always fight back and having fun. I
And let
enjoy
me make sure this is a peaceful
force.
but very effective process.
Yes.
When you have civil disobedience
Yes.
and your sheriff is helping you with
Hmm.
that, and
Yes.
he's defending you with that, or he's standing next to you
Hmm.
when you're doing it,
Yep.
he's doing it with you.
Yes.
Can you think of anything more powerful than
No,
that?
this is why I came to America.
Yeah.
Remember the bandits? I remember you there. Probably you had so many people, and we were a few hundred of us. And that for me was the most beautiful day as an American, at least one of the most beautiful days beside my citizenship
Yeah.
when I got my ceremony. Because I said, wow, this is exactly why this is America. And people forget we have so much power. And of course, the sheriff wasn't standing with us. You remember the story? The sheriff in Las Vegas said it was a terrible. I think, but the point is still the people, the power of the people uniting. The federal government was freaking out for the first time, I think, since the Battle of Athens. Remember the Battle of Athens, 1946? Not no Athens in Greece. The one I think was in Georgia or Tennessee. Anyway, was a city after World War II.
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee. The veterans came back from World War II, and there was a very high corruption during the sheriff election. And the veterans said, "We want to count the votes." And the sheriff said, no, you can count the votes. You got to stay out. Like pretty much what happened in the last elections, okay? So they blocked themselves in the sheriff office and they were come out, getting fraud, voter fraud. The veterans said, we didn't go fight the World War II and we come here home to become a bunch of serfs with you guys. So they went to the National Guard Armory. There was a truly, unfortunately, nobody really got hurt, but still was a shootout between the sheriff and the mayor on the site, and the other one was the citizen with the veterans. 3 days later, by the way, the veterans pretty much was able to go inside the building, do the right way, the voter, checking all the ballots, and by the way, the new sheriff won. And more important, the FBI came back, or the federal government came back. Oh, everything's great job. That was the time when America still had some basic, integrity even in the FBI. Because the bottom line is, this is a very unique country. We want peace. We want to always try to keep everything civil with the system of civil disobedience. But there is one thing, and this is for me speaking. I don't want to put anything on your mouth unless you agree. The Second Amendment is a unique concept that belongs only to this country. I've been around the world. I was in Italy, of course. I went to Israel. I went to Europe. I went
What's your native language?
Italian, okay?
Okay.
But I went a little bit around. Before I came here, I came here when I was 30. I was able to travel around the world for 10 years.
Okay.
And I say, I want to be sure before I come to America, this is the place.
Right.
I already knew in my heart, but I wanted to be sure. When it comes down to natural rights, to the Declaration of Independence, to the Bill of Rights, and then if we go specifically to the Second Amendment, there is no other country like this. Even people say, "Oh, Israel, you got your guns." Listen, no, Israel is the government guns. Switzerland, same story, very regulated. This is the place where I want to remind everyone: these guns that we have are not for hunting, are not for controlling, the little burglary coming to your home at night. Yeah, that can help. A 2x4 can do it too. This is the real purpose of the Second Amendment, to defend us from tyranny. And the day at the Bundy's, I was so excited. Nobody got hurt. First of all, that's great. But more important was a statement. You point at your guns at law-abiding people defending their rights. We are not here to be shot like in China.
It guarantees our right to rebel.
Yes, yes. And as I said, this is, I was, by the way, next in line just because I was there as a member of the media reporting. I already got my name came to court, in federal court. We're gonna come after this, and this. If I didn't, say, what did I do? But just now, because your freedom of speech, they don't like it. You're an enemy, and that's fine. Put it on, bring it on. Before we go ahead and we continue, I like to remind a couple things. You can listen to the show, of course, to socialcontactclub.com. And of course, if you have questions, I don't take any more phone calls, but you can come to the club. If you are a member, of course, this is not open to the public. And here, normally, what we do, we broadcast first on YouTube and then on the air. And we want questions, of course, from the audience. So it's always welcome. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to preach you. I'm not even here to be right. I'm just here to share what I believe. And then, as if I'm wrong, please make my day. I would love to be wrong. I wish all the things we've been talking these years we were wrong.
Go ahead,
You
make
know,
my day.
Yes, really. I wish we were wrong. Remember, they used to call us conspiracy theorists 15, 16 years ago. Now it's all real and it's so tough. Now, briefly, these elections that I'm pretty sure, but I don't want to assume. What do you think about really? Uh, you think this was a fair election? You think that we truly have an elected president?
No one knows. No one knows. And I'll tell you why we don't know. Because we use computers to count our votes,
Hmm.
and no one verified any computer in the entire country. What do we know about computers? They're easily hacked.
Hmm.
And even the Pentagon had their computers hacked. So, my dear friends, when Attorney General Barr came out and said that there was some irregularities with the vote, but there was not sufficient evidence to show that it would have changed the election, and there was no sign of sufficient fraud to overturn the election. I want to ask him one question: why are you lying to the American people? Because if you're making that statement, that means you conducted an investigation.
Hmm.
He did not conduct an investigation. If he's making that statement, he must show us the investigation that he had conducted in his Department of Justice. There is none. Nationwide, there is none. And there is no way that we as Americans can tolerate using computers to tabulate votes and not verify that the computers were correct and that the integrity of the vote is absolutely essential to maintaining liberty in our country. Uh, uh, Thomas Paine, not Thomas Paine, uh, Tom Sawyer, Samuel Clemens said that if voting made any difference, they wouldn't let us do it anymore.
Hmm.
And then of course Stalin said or was it Lenin that said it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the
The
vote.
votes. Yep.
And so that is what really matters, ladies and gentlemen. Who counted the votes? And do you know what happened to your vote and how it was counted and how it was tabulated? It happened inside a machine that none of us had any control over, nor can any of us verify that it was properly tabulated. So we have maintained for 25 years, I've been fighting for this, that there should be 1% of every vote counted in every precinct. Every single precinct of, but I think there's about 8,000 in the country. There might be more now. I can't remember, but it's thousands. Just count by hand 1%. What can you do with 1%? Verify that the percentage is similar to that which came out of the computer. If you can't do that, then you should not have any computer voting, and we should do all hand ballots from
Hmm.
now on.
Yep.
And those should be linked to the person who did the vote. You should have your name on it. You should sign off that that number is mine. And if it ever came back to you, You say, yes, that is how I voted. But you can't do that now. And both the Democrats and the Republicans are culpable of this. It's their fault because they have both fought against verifying computerized voting.
Yeah, this is serious. And now my point, I go. What you say is perfect. By the way, it's true. We don't have any type of evidence that anybody counted the votes. But more important, I know we have evidence also the things they were completely artifact or at least artificially inflated. I mean, we know a lot of.
Of probable cause
Uh huh.
to do an investigation. But
Exactly.
nobody even pursued that. Well, there was a few sheriffs that did, but they were stopped.
Yeah. And
So
this is my question now because now I don't say all country because of course there is the other part of the whatever people voted for their party because this is so sad now it's beyond Democrats Republican. I always say when I have a chance to interact a few times with people that they think they are on their team, like, oh, I'm a Democrat, I'll do this. Is not more about a party, and I hate party anyway because they're made to separate us. It is about legality, it's about justice, it's about a system. Now next time can be the same thing for the Republicans. The point is now we are under an illusion of freedom. This is now about a just a pacifier. The slaves, once in a while, throw them a little bit of election just to make them believe that you are free. But there is no more freedom. I think now, the sad thing, we are living the last days of this republic. Probably it's already dead. I'm sorry. It's still alive because we are here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting hopes away, but we are almost the last breath because right now they took over the most important part of the reality that we are living in. They control not only all the offices. We know under Trump one thing: how much corruption there is in every
no
department.
kidding. That's
Yeah,
absolutely correct.
yeah, and we know
And
that at
and the
least.
Constitution is hanging by a thread.
Yeah. So that's why the sheriff is so important because we may not change Washington. We may not even have the money to go pretty
Make
soon.
Washington irrelevant.
Exactly. We're gonna go to a point that we don't even gonna have the gas money to even go to your capital anyway. But you can walk to your county sheriff and talk to him and try to educate them and support them and show him. By the way, sheriff, one day if you have to make your stand, it's not gonna be just you and your wife. We're gonna be with you. If we need to support you economically, we will help you. After all, this is gonna be your first and probably the last line of defense that we have. So this is so important. It's not just about blah blah blah. Let's talk. Let's get mad. You put your next Facebook meme. This is about doing something that we all can do. We have so many counties in the states. If we can take control of our counties according to the Constitution,
Right.
we can regain control of 80% of America. I tell you something. I've been in Florida like a couple months ago for business, and just going through airplanes and TSA and all this stuff. I said, you know what? I'm done. Mojave County is going to be my United States of America until we get some sort of a back of a reality here. Because probably I may die before I'm going to see America again. I don't know. I hope not. But at least I say in Mojave County, I feel still I have a chance to stand up, don't be treated like a serf,
Right.
and have an interaction. So that's all I say. Please, listeners, don't be just listeners. Be active. Go out there, do your part. One more time, Sheriff, please give us the website where people can support you and can buy your books
Well,
and everything else.
anybody can make a donation. Anybody and everybody can join the CSPOA. It's not just for cops or former sheriffs or sheriffs. The citizens must be involved in this process. Join our posse at cspoa.org. Join the posse, become part of it, and become part of the solution, a peaceful and effective solution for taking back American liberty. cspoa.org.
All right. And I have here also among the public today, we have few people, but they are great people. And I have a friend that is also my vice pope. Vice Pope, are you there? Steve, would you mind to come and join us, please? And I will say, Vice Pope, what are you talking about? Look, let me tell you something. I'm not trying to make fun of religions. And by the way, I was born Catholic, but I'm not Catholic. But, this is my church, our church. And I call myself the Pope, okay? And I'm a good Pope because I say, I don't tell you what to do. I'm not tell you what to believe. Thank you, Sheriff. By the way, Sheriff Mack was with us. I just tell you something. Let's get together under the principle of freedom. So I can, if the Pope can be a Pope, I can be a Pope too. Now I have my Vice Pope. It's Mr. Steve Tuminello. Steve, how are you?
I'm great, Luca. Thank you for inviting me up.
Yeah, and by the way, you very good help and collaborate and work with Sheriff Mack. Tell us a little bit about your role and what you do in Mojave County.
Well, I first heard about Sheriff Mack back in 2005 when I was with the We the People group. You remember the movie Aaron Russo's
Freedom.
America from Freedom to Fascism,
Yep, I do.
and our our We the People group were involved in the movie. Ron Paul, I was looking at one of your photos back there, was very involved with us, and of course a lot of the what I call the super patriots back then. But I was hearing about Sheriff Mack, and then I was living up in St. George, Utah, and I heard Sheriff Mack was running for governor, and I wanted to support him because I'd heard so many great things about him. This was back in 2004.
Wow.
In fact, I was sharing with Sheriff Mack. I was going through some files and actually found the invitation to the meeting back then when I first met Sheriff Mack and his wife Dawn when they came up to speak, and I supported him as a local businessman. I made a contribution for his running for governor of Utah back then. And then, I had kind of followed him over the years, and you get busy with your children and family life, that type of thing. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I started realizing that the sheriffs are our best hope to restore our republic. And so I contacted Sheriff Mack because I had moved over to Arizona, went down to visit with him, went out to lunch, and we talked and worked with him a little bit. But I got real busy with my business. But about a year ago, I started working close to full time with Sheriff Mack, especially after the COVID hit, because my financial business was pretty much on hold. So we were working very diligently on booking Sheriff Mack on programs all over the country, and we were very successful. We had some really good responses from some of the podcasts that we had Sheriff Mack on. A lot of these alternative media podcasts will have 1 million
Hmm.
viewers,
Yep.
more than a lot of the what we call the major networks. So if we were able to, get him on 4 or 5 different of these podcasts, we were reaching quite a few people.
Yep.
But on my radio interview that we did Tuesday, where Sheriff Mack phoned in from Phoenix, and I was in the studio in Lake Havasu at KNTR FM. I mentioned something which I thought was kind of interesting, and it was a very entertaining interview. I thought we got a lot of positive comments on it, but I was really shocked. About a month ago, I get all the inquiries through my media email address with the CSPOA, and we were contacted by a very prominent uh, newspaper in Frankfurt, Germany,
Wow.
and
That's interesting.
they wanted to interview Sheriff Mack.
That's really
And I thought,
interesting.
wow, I didn't realize that Sheriff Mack was so well known internationally. I knew we had a great exposure nationwide, and a couple of weeks after that, Voice of America contacted us, which I think you remember
Yep.
when you were
Yep.
growing up in Italy,
Yep.
reaching over 40 different countries and 240 million people.
Wow.
Yeah. So Sheriff Mack is now internationally recognized, and we're very honored to have him here in Mojave County all weekend for these 3 big events that we have.
Tell me a little bit about, there is a group of patriots, they call the Havasu Patriots, that you're working actively to do what exactly? What have you been doing the last few
Well,
months?
the Havasu Patriots is a loosely formed organization, but we have a lot of talent there.
Mhm.
We have a retired police officer, Greg Beffert, that is very knowledgeable on the law, and we have Bill Mitchell, who created the Resolution 1776 that we submitted to the Mojave County Board of Supervisors.
Mhm.
But we've been meeting for the past 6 months for the Lake Havasu City Council meetings and the Board of Supervisors meetings, and I've sort of been the liaison for the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association while being a active member of both organizations. And now we've created, with the help of Robert and Kathleen Hall, Great American Patriots.
Great
So
American Patriot. Yes. So the point is, as I said before, you don't need to have a degree. You don't need to be an expert in politics to be involved. Every one of us, no matter our background. I mean, I know you are in the entertainment business. You are in music and also, of course, financial business. The point, we all can do something to start to expose tyranny and stop it. You've been very active. Also, try to educate and also at the same time remind the officials. I don't like the word official. I like to call it public servants. Otherwise, they think they are some sort of a high level things.
right,
They are public servants, starting from the mayor and, of course, all the bureaucrats that follow through, health department, that tell me, because I like the way you said, when there are crimes, like alleged crimes, of course, we need to be convincing them still. Like, for example, this sort of creating a pandemic that doesn't exist, and then there are no type of, you can be charged no matter even few years from now. When you start to create like a terroristic fear, and there are no foundation, so they're shutting down business, and they are creating all these completely real, um, dramatic reality, but there is no any type of evidence for what they're doing. That's not just I'm protected by executive
Mhm.
orders. That's a specific things. Now you're operating beyond your jurisdiction, and you can also be now personally, and not just as in a county or
Well,
city.
yeah, what we learned, and I was surprised, is that, and I think this is happening all over the country, city by city, county by county. Uh, the governors coming down from the federal government were offering funding to these counties and cities, and it was very tempting to them to not take that funding, that revenue, and as a result, they expected certain things to happen by getting that money. And so, what happened in our city, and I think all over the county, is that we never really had a state of emergency.
Hmm.
In fact, I learned through Greg Beffert that a state of emergency was declared in Lake Havasu City. We did not have one single COVID case.
Wow,
And you know what that is?
that's a
Fraud.
fraud.
Right. So this whole campaign of fear has basically been fear and fraud.
Yeah.
And that's why you hear stories like we heard here in Mojave County, where the man was shot with a 357, but he didn't die instantly. They life flighted him to Las Vegas Regional Medical Center, and they listed that as a COVID death.
Wow. Wow. That's the
So
point. This is we gotta stand up. And as I said, this is not like their paid position, by the way. Steve, you have a life, you got family, you do this out of your time. It takes so much out of your time, and that's why I said help. Even if you can donate few hours, few minutes. Even if you don't have time, give a few bucks. Hey, this is for the gas money. This is for next
mhm,
time you do. Sometimes all things takes time and money. So do something, or give your time, or give a few donation, but at least be involved. This is not about just some abstract concept. This is how we're gonna now already living in a complete tyranny. People may have forgotten, but a few months ago in Mojave County, we were completely now in a situation that you could not even go to have a regular service. And more important, people were starving. People lost their businesses. I forgot how many, 38, 39 people, businesses were shut down, never going to reopen anymore. And still people are going to be harassed now for all this mask. Now, if people truly believe that you need to be a doctor to understand the mask, Steve, we don't know doctors, but guess what? They're not doctor either. The mayor is not a doctor. But more important, I don't need a doctor to read English and to see on the box of the mask that says the
mhm,
manufacturer said, this mask will not stop even a fart. I mean, that mask will not stop a virus according to the manufacturing box.
mhm,
Now, why should I be penalized to put this piece of whatever fabric, probably even unsafe, maybe coming from China with some toxic stuff, in my mouth? And the mayor, for example, Kingman, was happy even if you make a homemade bandana. So tell me about what type of science that is behind. It's zero. It's a mind control.
mhm,
It's about if you're now stupid enough to comply and to put a dirty socks in your mouth, next time you will put two.
mhm.
And the third time you will be put up yourself upside down like they do in China. You're familiar now in China, they will do the test through your butt. You know
Right.
that?
Yes.
Not even through your nose anymore. They put them bend over and you gotta take the test. This is it. It's like Simon says, stick your finger in your nose and don't breathe. We cannot put, I cannot do this, Steve. That's why I said in March when I came back from Israel, and I'm proud, and I send them the videos. You watch my videos. Kingdom Force on Force, the Temple of Freedom was never shut down. I invited, challenge all these terrible people at the county health department or city, whatever they are, to come here and arrest me because I will not shut down. I I'm waiting and I'm open. But remember, this is the temple of freedom. This is the way we pray. So if the church of Catholic Church or St. Mary or whatever it's open, or if the Buddhist temple is open because they are religious, I'm religious too. And I have the right to exercise my religion. That's what we're doing here. Steve, anything you want to say? There is an event. I know it's going to be probably already tomorrow. We are not going to be on the air before tomorrow. But tell me anything you want to share before we close.
Well, we're very excited about the reception tomorrow night, where Sheriff Mack will be appearing and signing his books, and Sonny Borelli, our state senator, Leo Biasucci, our state representative, and Hildy Angus, our county board member, will be here. So that's very exciting. I was very glad to hear that you were able to put together this.
Well, we were all somehow, it's beautiful because yeah, of course, I made the calls, but the idea now, people like you are a member too. It's with your support we make this happen, because you may have an idea and that's great, but now it's about always people. They need to do their part. We show you the road. We are pulling this cart. Let's pull it together.
Right.
Let's make it bigger. And my idea is not to have a one here. I like to have everyone around the country make your temple of freedom.
And
you
that's
know?
what we're doing with Great American Patriots. We want to be an example for the rest of the country, and
Mhm.
that's why we're working so closely with the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. As Sheriff Mack says, if we don't have the people involved, we don't have a complete
It's true.
partnership here. So it's very important to get the citizen members like myself. I'm not current or former law enforcement. I'm just a concerned citizen that realizes that the sheriff is the supreme law enforcement in my county, and I am one of the constituents that is expecting our sheriff to stand up for the Constitution.
And you're also a father. I know that. And don't get me wrong, we already live in tyranny here. We don't need to wait. We're not gonna be there. We're gonna face it all the way through. But we're really more concerned, and I don't sleep at night sometimes. I have two young children, okay, and they're young, and they love things that I show them. Simple things like they love guns, and of course they have toy guns, and of course they also already know about safety. And they see me walking in the house. Sometimes I go see them, and I walk out with my rifle, and they say, "Wow, Daddy, I want guns too." And I already see them. I don't want this become like, you remember one time when Dad used to have able to have a gun and
Mhm.
walk out of the house with a gun without getting shot.
Right.
I want that our sons and daughters can live in the same America, even better if we can, of course, than we had and we have.
Well, it used to be that students would go to school with their
Mhm.
rifle in the back of their pickup truck, and they had a
Exactly.
shooting range in the basement of the
Exactly.
school. It was considered like physical education. It was
Yeah.
another
And by the way, the guns is
class.
just the beginning. I don't know. Oh, you're a gun freak. This is just, you don't need to like gun. This is about freedom. It's about your freedom of speech. You have the point that the government cannot force you to put the dirty socks in your mouth and put you in jail otherwise. Like for example, you're on right now. There's an executive order through the CDC that does away. By the way, they have no even legal authority on anything, but through the presidency or whatever this man is now acting as a president. If you go in a public transportation and you don't wear the mask, you can be charged of a felony. So this is beyond now. We already live in tyranny right now. That's why I said, please get involved. I wish we go beyond political parties, because I said I have some friends, former Democrats, that they realize when criminal are try to hijack their party, this is not more about philosophy or different type of economic system. This is about tyranny and injustice.
Right.
And I'm proud of them that they at least they say, I'm not going to be part of this game, and they remove themselves from the party.
It's
And
about the life or death of our country. It's
Exactly.
not politics.
Exactly. And I'm always open. If you listen, we all make mistakes. We all are ignorant one time. Okay. Sometimes I don't follow the TV. I don't have a TV, but sometimes people just watch too much their box and they get brainwashed. If we can grab them out and give them a chance to see the truth, hey, I forgive you even if you voted for Biden. Okay. If you wake up, I'm not going to be that mad. All right. We're almost at the end. One more note. I want to just say thank you very much, Steve, for everything, for what you do for Mojave County. And I want to say, please listen up. I'm here. I don't want to really be on the air. 2 years of off were nice. I have so much stuff to do in my life, but I do this because I really believe that every one of us needs to do their part. I don't want you to listen to my show, and I want you to make your own show. I want you to get your own flyers. Go to your county supervisor meeting, to your city council. Talk to your family. Do something. Don't just be eating popcorn. I remember when I used to say, hey, watch this show and get your popcorn ready. I never believed that crap. I believe we have to be the actors here.
Right.
So do your part. You've been listening to to the Regional Freedom radio show live from the Social Temple, so Social Contact Club, the Temple of Freedom. Sorry, my brain started to get tired. I get up at 5 a.m. And guess what? This is Luca Zanna. Call me Brother Luca, and I'll see you, God's willing, next Saturday.
Thank you, Brother Luca.
Thank you, Vice Pope Steve.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.